watching the nation's best college newscast. 11 News at Noon starts now.
Shutdown fury. National parks, government jobs, and even access to food assistance programs are all closed. We'll tell you what's shut down here in Utah.
Sharing is caring. Why Orem voters are divided over paying a tax that helps the local arts scene.
And school growth. Expanding neighborhoods have too many students for some Alpine School District schools to handle. I'm Randall Vaudry.
And I'm Mark Chalice. Welcome to 11 News at Noon. It's day 2 of the federal shutdown. We're already seeing the impact here in Utah.
Mothers of young children who use a federal aid program are already feeling the effects. We're talking about the Women, Infant, and Children program. The shutdown canceled all of WIC's appointments, and county health officials say they can't assist the families. If the government shutdown lasts only a week, the county says there's nothing to worry about. But if it lasts any longer, many won't get the food vouchers that they rely on. Stores will still take October vouchers, but there may not be any November vouchers.
Utah Congressman Jason Chaffetz says he will voluntarily join the thousands who aren't getting a paycheck during the government shutdown. Chaffetz says he will only accept a paycheck after the government is up and running and his fellow federal employees get theirs. He is doing this despite his constitutional right to his pay, even during a shutdown. And as the government shutdown slogs into its second day, people across the country are speaking up. Hundreds of thousands of federal employees aren't working as the furlough put many of their jobs on hold. The Pentagon building is mostly empty in Washington, and in St. Louis, hundreds of government employees took to the streets in protest saying they want work. The furloughs also mean tourists are taking a hit as well. Famous national parks and monuments like Yellowstone National Park, the St. Louis Arch, and the old Ironsides Historical Warship are closed. Until the shutdown is over, all 5 Utah national parks and most federal campgrounds are closed as well.
Anyone who shops in Orem has been helping fund the city's arts and recreation program through a specialized sales tax, and it's up for renewal on November's ballot. 11 News reporter Sydney Carlson is live in the newsroom. And Sydney, what's the debate surrounding this tax?
Well, on the one hand, the revenue has given the community greater access to arts and recreation, but opponents of the tax say the city hasn't distributed the funds like they said they would in 2005.
It's called the CARE tax, and while it only costs Orem consumers 1 cent for every $10 they spend, it raises about $1.3 million a year for local arts and recreation, something the Hale Center Theater in Orem is seeing a direct benefit from.
I think that the production quality that you see here as a result of the CARE tax would be in the top 5% in the nation.
Hale says that while the theater can manage financially without the tax, the money it gets allows them to keep prices low and quality high. Those opposed to continuing the CARE tax say the city shouldn't be involved in this type of funding.
Government has a role, and entertainment is not one of those. Don't ask me to pay your food bill, and I won't ask you to pay my entertainment bill.
Anderson says many 2005 voters supported the tax because they wanted to see better recreational facilities in Orem, but were disappointed when the city wasn't able to provide them. The CARE tax helps fund many youth-oriented programs in Orem, anything from City League sports to local children's theater.
Certainly, you can't underestimate how it affects young people, to give them opportunities, to see them flourish in all of these different areas. It helps make a difference.
Crozier says the arts will continue even if voters don't renew the CARE tax, but there may not be as many programs available to the community.
Orem voters will decide in November whether or not to extend the tax for another 10 years. The tax passed with a 55 to 40 margin in 2005, but there's a lot more opposition this time around. Live in the newsroom, Sydney Carlson, 11 News.
Now, Sydney, a lot of people shop in Orem, but they don't necessarily live there. Does that mean that they're supporting the arts through this tax?
Yeah, with big businesses like Costco and University Mall in Orem, a lot of the revenue for the CARE tax, comes from people who live outside of the city.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Sydney.
An update to a Provo law is addressing what the mayor calls predatory towing practices. The city unanimously voted last night that tow operators must provide proof that drivers parked illegally. A picture will do. The Towers Association does not agree with the change, saying that if officers don't need to show proof to write a parking ticket, towers should not need to show proof either. The rapidly rising number of homes in West Utah County is leading to crowding in schools, and it's more than just long lunch lines. 11 News reporter Sarah Chamberlain tells us why an increase in students has Westlake Westlake High School teachers worried.
More homes in Saratoga Springs and Eagle Mountain means more students in the schools there, and the district is struggling to keep up.
Westlake High School teacher Whitney Child can't always help all of her students. Home building in the west part of Alpine School District means a rapidly growing student body. Most teachers at Westlake teach almost 250 students per day with 30 to 40 kids in each class. And Child says that number is startlingly high compared to the rest of the nation.
I think sometimes when you have that many students, it's hard to reach every single student, every single class period.
Though they have large class sizes, Child says the Westlake principal still wants to make sure each student is learning what they need to know. The Alpine District opened a second middle school last month to keep up with the student growth, and ninth graders now attend there to relieve the high school from overpopulation. That works for Westlake this year, but the district still estimates they will gain almost 400 students in the next school year. The district says they'll prepare by hiring more teachers for those students.
When we're looking at growth projections, we look at two factors. One is birth rate and one is in-migration. And both are very significant in the west areas of our district right now.
Child says it's hard to have so many kids in a classroom, but her years of experience will help her to handle an increase of students in the future.
Teachers also meet weekly after school to identify specific students who may be struggling and figure out what they can do to help them. Mark and Randall?
Thanks, Sarah.
When 11 News at noon returns. English lessons. Provo City School District wants to help non-English speakers learn the local lingo.
And a ripening apple. Which company beat out the rest to have the most popular brand in the world? Stay with us, we'll tell you. The Provo City School District is starting a new semester for those who want to learn English. 11 News reporter Christy Jacinto attended the opening day where people from around the world started their free studies.
1, 2, 3. We native speakers use English every day without thinking twice about it, using phrases and words that we consider to be very basic.
What is your name?
My name is Mariel.
But there are many in our communities who struggle with simple words.
I want to learn English and improve my communication skills.
Juana Maria moved to America 9 years ago, and so did her classmate Maximo. They've had to rely on other people to communicate.
My husband helps me.
My boss speaks some Spanish, so we can understand each other pretty well.
Juana Maria is only in the beginning course, but says she will stick with it until she finishes the final level.
I waited so long because I was embarrassed to come until my friend convinced me to come so that I will be able to help my son with school.
The rooms down these hallways are filled with ESOL classes from levels 1 through 6. After completing those levels, students are able to take the final class, which prepares them to take the GED.
ESOL teacher Ethan Lynn says it's important for everyone living in America to learn English, and he's excited to help them in this process.
So what I want to do is first instill in them like basic English and study skills. It's my job to kind of keep as many people as I can going in the program so that they can advance and move on.
In Provo, Christy Jacinto, 11 News.
The program also offers free daycare for non-English speakers who might have small children but want to take the free classes.
Bikers in New York take the law into their own hands, a candlelight vigil for fallen Colorado hikers, and Apple is the new heavyweight champion of world branding. Here's your look at news from across the nation. A terrifying episode. That's what New York police are calling this motorcycle chase that currently has 2 under arrest. Police say the biker you see here stopped suddenly, causing this SUV to hit him, which set off a chain of events. The bikers surrounded the SUV, frightening the driver, who ran over a biker while trying to get away. And it ends in this scary attack. The incident is still under investigation. Family and friends gathered in Buena Vista, Colorado to remember 5 family members killed while hiking on Monday. The tragedy occurred when a massive rock slide came crashing down over the group of 6, leaving only 1 child as a survivor. The candlelight vigil took place outside of the high school where the survivors' parents worked. And Apple is the new king of the hill in world branding, unseating Coca-Cola after 13 years on top. Apple takes the title as the world's most valuable brand, partly thanks to the new iPhone. Google moves up to snatch the 2nd spot, leaving former champion Coke now at 3rd. Apple has an estimated worth of $98.3 billion, jumping in value by 28% compared to last year. And that's your look at news from across the nation. Mark?
Thanks, Randall. The man who rode the hunt for Red October and the Patriot games died last night at the age of 66. Officials have not released the cause of Tom Clancy's death. His detailed thrillers were known for government intrigue and military tactics, and his most famous character, CIA agent Jack Ryan. His latest book, Command Authority, will hit stores in December. Well, Kathleen, I heard something. I didn't know if I should believe it or not, but I heard that we might see a little bit of snow later this week.
Yeah, we might see. We definitely, it's not quite winter yet, but don't worry about that. It'll just be a little bit, it'll be a little bit cold, and I'll let you know with 11 weather when we return. All right, today's second day of October here, and it's starting to look like October here. We have a little bit more cloud cover going on right now. It's not can't really see the blue sky as much as we have been in the past few days, but that's normal for October. And actually, these clouds are kind of a predictor for what's to come later on this week. But for right now, it is in the 50s right now. It's about 57 with a humidity of 51%, so half humid, half dry. So that's perfectly fine. And we've also, and the wind speed of 6 miles an hour. So it's just blowing just a little bit. We have a nice little breeze. And then later tonight, some scattered showers going on. It'll cool down just a little bit, about 47 degrees. So not too much of a temperature change there, but the sun will go down around 6 minutes after 7 tonight. And then later, and then as far as the rest of the state goes, kind of a little bit of diverse weather going on. Northern Utah, expect a little bit of rain and some scattered storms later on today and later in this evening. But however, for southern Utah, you should see some nice bright sun and some nice warm weather as St. George and 84 degrees. And then as far as the rest of, speaking of southern Utah, the rest of the week, it should be actually pretty nice. Like not too much of a temperature change. High being 84, which is today. So, but then the rest of this week, it'll cool down a little bit, and it'll especially cool down later in the evening with the lowest temperature being about 47 degrees later on tonight, and then throughout the rest of the week, it'll be warm. Then, as far as northern Utah goes, can't really say it's going to be as warm. And starting tonight, later on this evening, watch out for some scattered storms and some rain that should continue on Thursday and Friday, and even have some snow. However, don't pack your bags and don't move to Oahu just yet. What you should it'll just be in the benches there. It should only reach about 4,700 feet. So cities like Park City and other places a little bit farther north should expect some. However, it's not going to, there should be little or no accumulation this week. It should just be just fine, just a little bit of a light dusting. So
all right, sounds good.
Watch out.
Thanks, Kathleen.
So, Skylar, it's official, nothing is sacred anymore. I heard the government shutdown's even going to affect football.
That's right, even football. The Air Force Academy is not going to travel any of their athletics during the shutdown, which means this weekend's game against Navy may not happen if the shutdown persists, which it looks like it will. We could miss out on a few football games. Now also, though, coming up, we're going to talk about concussion problems on campus. BYU's strong running back core is a little weakened with head-banging issues. Reporter Sam Hancock has the details. And the Buccos are back. After a 21-year October hiatus, Pittsburgh is a wildcard team this year. But can they make it out of the one-game playoff in to the divisional series? Sports is next. Stay with us. BYU sent a lone representative to the St. Francis Health System's ITA Men's All-American Tennis Championships this week. After getting through the pre-qualifying rounds, junior Francis Sargent was bumped from the tourney in the second round yesterday. Men's tennis will be in action again starting on the 10th at the University of Utah Invitational. And it's an injury that impacts thousands of NCAA student athletes a year, and the entire wide world of sports is talking about the injury's long-lasting effects on players. That's, of course, concussions. 11 Sports reporter Sam Hancock asks BYU trainers why it's so difficult to recover from a major blow to the head.
It's a rare moment when the roar of rabid football fans and the clashing of pads falls completely silent. But BYU has heard 2 such hushes when running back Jamal Williams and breakout kick returner Adam Hine went down in the last 2 games.
Concussions can be dangerous for the athlete.
Their steps to healing are just beginning. Diagnosis and recovery can be tricky.
If somebody sprains an ankle and swells up or gets a bruise and, discolors their skin, it's easy for me to see that. I can't really see a concussion.
The NCAA requires each team to have a plan in place to make sure a player is healed before going back into the game.
BYU's protocol requires athletes to go through a series of mental and physical tests that they have to pass before they can see the field again.
It's a hard test. I mean, if you or I were to take the test, it'd tax us.
The other problem with concussions? One can turn into many more. A story familiar with BYU legends Jim McMahon and Steve Young, who both had head injuries in their careers. 2 years ago, Junior Ross Apo sustained a concussion and says he worries about another one coming.
You hesitate sometimes to go in and make contact, and it's difficult.
But a concussion may be the furthest thing from their mind when the game starts and the crowd begins to roar. On the BYU campus, Sam Hancock, 11 Sports.
Coaches and trainers are saying that Jamal Williams will play Friday at Utah State, adding that he won't be given the same workload as before. He was on pace for almost 400 touches this year before the concussion. And from football to football, for the 3rd time in the team's history, Real Salt Lake played in the U.S. Open Cup final last night. Despite going against last place DC United, Real couldn't get the win, falling in a 1-0 shutout. Real took 8 more shots than United, including 6 on frame, but it was to no avail. Real remains tied for first in the Western Conference, but is slumping with just 2 goals in their last 4 matches. And now we shift from Major League Soccer to Major League Baseball, where the Pirates are giving Pittsburgh sports fans hope and the Steelers are dwindling. And that's a sentence that hasn't been dreamed of in quite a while. The reason these fans are so happy to play in a wild card game? Well, it might have to do with the fact that the last time the Buccos were in the playoffs was 1992. The top-grossing movie from the year was Disney's Aladdin, and in '92, the first SMS text message was received by a cell phone in the United Kingdom. Well, last night, none of that mattered. Marlon Byrd says bye-bye birdie and puts the Pirates on top 1-0. 2 batters later, Russell Martin joins the bomb squad, and the Buccos are rolling. So are we. Let's jump to the 7th inning where the Pirates have a 5-1 lead. What does Martin think of the 4-run buffer? It's not enough. His second dinger gives the Pirates more coverage than they need as they finish off the Reds 6-2. Cincy calls it a season as Martin and the Pirates break out their rum, or champagne rather. The Steel City rejoices as they send their Buccos to battle the Cardinals in St. Louis in the divisional series.
Sounds good. Thanks, Skylar.
Still to come on 11 News at noon, Helping Paws. How four-legged friends are providing more than just therapy for cancer patients. We'll be right back.
You've probably heard of the Relay for Life Cancer Walk, but now there's a new breed of the event in town. 11 News reporter Eliza Bishop shows us how dogs with cancer and dogs that help those with cancer are barking for a cure.
Meet Elliot, a 7-year-old Labradoodle, 3 feet tall, 50 pounds, loyal companion, and importantly, a therapy dog.
We visit Huntsman Cancer Hospital, Primary Children's Medical Center, and there we visit patients in their rooms. We visit with them, we talk with them.
A patient painted Elliot's toenails gold at his last visit. Grooming is just one of Elliot's strong suits. His loving companionship helps with much more.
Whenever anybody interacts with an animal, there's been studies done where they need less medication for a period of time afterwards.
This week, Elliot is helping out even further at the Bark for Life event. Organizers hold this canine conference every year, and registration fees go to fund cancer research.
If you take a look behind me, you can see visitors walking with their dogs on their annual walk around the park, which they hold in memory of those that they've lost and those friends that they still have here.
Canines and humans share the same types of cancer sometimes, so it's just a good event all the way around.
With 5 years of doggy therapy under his belt, Elliot is retiring this week. The lives he has touched will continue to fill his love and legacy.
It made me feel amazing, just made me feel relived.
In Draper, Eliza Bishop, 11 News.
That's great how the dogs, they don't just help the patients like psychologically, but actually medically too. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I just want to sneak this in. I just checked Twitter, and the Air Force Academy game versus Naval Academy is going to happen this weekend, even if that government shutdown persists throughout the whole week.
Well, that's good for them that they'll still be able to play.
Yeah, that's great news.
Totally.
Well, thanks, and that's your 11 News at noon for Wednesday, October 2nd.
You can join us anytime on our website, 11news.byu.edu.
Thanks for watching, and have a great afternoon.